Hello everyone, it's Zils here. Welcome back to the Zils Developer channel. It's been a while. We've been busy with other things, but the channel has to keep going, so we're back here. So today, we want to do something very simple. We want to containerize a simple Express app, right? A two tier app, backend and a database layer. So we're going to containerize them and get them to work together. And then the next step will be to using Docker Compose so that we don't have to do too much manually. All the settings, all the configuration, all the networking will be done inside a Compose file, and then Docker Compose would make sure everything runs smoothly, and the two components will be able to communicate with each other. So let me show you. I've already written the simple Express app. There's already a Postgres database running. I have the credentials in my .env file. It's a simple database, a user's database. So this is the Express app. So there's a get status here, then the get users here that returns all users, and then there's a post users here that you could use to add additional user to the table. All right, so maybe let's see if we can run this. I'm using an inbuilt a terminal. So the credentials are already here, so everything should be able to run fine. So it's TypeScript, so we're going to build it first. I've set two scripts. There's a build and then there's a start script in my JSON package.json here. As you can see, this and then this PG here. It's what we're using, to connect to the database here. All right, these are the connection string. It pulls from the environment file. Let's simply just run a build command. So we'll say npm run build. It builds, and then we'll run start. Right, so we should be able to access this app on this port. This was specified on the environment variable 5008. All right, open browser, and let's see if we can access that port 5008. Let's see status. It says all good here. Of course, let's see users, an empty array. All right, so now we'll quickly use an API tool because we're making a post request to add users or a user. Where is it? All right, so this is my API tool. So this is the endpoint. I'm making a post request here. As you can see here, this is the payload. Just a simple JSON of name and email. Name is John. Email it's john@money.com. Who doesn't like money? So let's just run this. So this we've run it and then return back this to us. All right, so we've got a record here. All right, so this shows that the app is good, in a good state. It's connected to the database. Now we want to containerize the two components. Really, it's one where we're containerizing, right? This backend component, because the other layer, the database layer, we're just going to pull in a Docker image, the official Postgres Docker image. We don't need to build that ourselves. All right, and then we're going to run. We're going to now create a table. It comes with a default database, the Postgres database. We're going to just run a create table command to create the new table, and then we're going to make sure the connection strings are correct for which whatever we're going to use. Anyways, all right, so let's stop this first. Yeah, and we're going to containerize this. I've already created the Docker file. I'm going to pull in Dockerfile. We'll just go over it. It's a simple file. We're using a slim node base image Alpine. We're creating a folder, then we're copying JSON so that we can install the packages, and then we're copying everything. As it's always good to do this install before you copy everything. All right, and then we're running build. We have the build script, and then we're we're running the node command to run the application, basically. We will do this, right, and then we would be able to access at least the first endpoint, because that one does not call database. So let's build and start this. So I'm already in that directory. All right, let's look at this is what we're dealing with here, this guy here, right? So let's run docker build, right? That's the tag we're giving it, right? express-containerized, the tag is version 2, right? So we're saying dot, that's the context, right? The path to where the Docker file is, and then of course the name of the Docker file is Dockerfile, so you don't need to specify that as well. So we're going to hit it and get that build. All right, so now we can run this, right? We have the name here. Right, so we're going to specify the port where we want to access our hub. Let's use 5009 this time, and which port is the app running in. Now, the funny thing is, the app will run in any port that we specify, all right, as that environment. Do you get? So we need to set that environment variable, right? So if we say we want the app to run on 5000, right? If we're saying this where this is running, the app, the container is running, then we need to set that environment variable, right? Called port, and then we say 5000. Do you get that? Right. It's because we have 5000 here. That's why we're saying, yeah, we can access it in this same place. So this and this are supposed to be the same, all right? But we can access it on 5009, all right? Hope that's all I need to do. We should be able to get at least status, and then we'll talk about database. All right, so it is started. So let's go back to this guy, 5009, right? Now this time let's check status, see, yeah, we're good. All right, so of course the app is running, but we can't get users because it will tell us things are wrong. We don't have database running. Those credentials, we don't even set it in the environment. All right, so let's do that now. We need to pull in the official Postgres image, right? We're going to run Postgres, right? But now the thing is, the two containers need to run in the same network, right? So what we need to do first is to actually create a network so that we can apply it to both containers, all right? So we say Docker network, right? Docker network create, what do we call it? We'll say Zeus network. Right, let's call it Zeus network. So that's first command, that other container that we ran. We're going to go back. Of course, we've stopped it. When we run it again, we're going to tell it to use this network. All right. So this Postgres that we're running, couple of things. The other thing you need to specify, I think that is required, is actually the Postgres password as an environment variable. Do we give it any container name? No, that's not important, but yeah, Postgres password. All right, what do we use as a password? Let's call it a secure password, all lowercase, right? I think this is good, except that we're going to tell it to use our network we created. What do we call it? We call it Zeus network, right? The two things we're passing here are network and one environment variable, which is Postgres password. So this is the password we use to access the database, right, when it runs. So let's do this. Now what we're going to do, we're going to go back and run that other run command again for our container, but this time we're going to also pass that network here, right? We're going to say network Zales what network, right? Remember, when we ran it, of course you saw that environment variable. We're going to set all those environment variables, right? Let's go look at them, right? We're going to set all of them, all right? So that this app, right, when it runs, this container, when it runs now, it's going to set all those environment variables, and those variables, those values are what it will use to connect to the database. Let's go back and look at our .env file and then let's do something here. Let's convert this, right, manually. We've already done port, right? Remember, what's the password we use? We said secure password, right? Secure password. Port, Postgres container, it's already running on this port, so we're going to specify all of this, right? So can I grab all of this and say .e, and then we're going to put all of them. This is supposed to be the container name, right? But we didn't give that container a name, right? So what do we do? So let's do docker ps to find that image, right? Look at the Postgres image here. What's the name? Interesting name, beautiful, right? All right, so this is the host. It's going to use this name to access it. All right, so we're going to copy all of this, right? We're going to come back here to this other tab, right? And we're going to add more environment variables. Right. All right. So remember, the app is running on, we can access it on this port 5009. Let's go try now. Right, it's running. We have a database, but we don't have a table yet. All right, so even if the connection is correct, we'll get an error, right? Because we don't have that table created. It does not exist. So see, we have an error. So let's quickly execute into that Postgres container and create a database table rather. I have a string already. This database running, this is the backend running, all right? So let's look for, this is a database container ID, right? So we're going to say docker exec it, paste the container ID, and then we're using shell. So we're in there now, right? So we can run PSQL. We know the password. What else do we need here? The database name. So the user, of course, is the Postgres user. Then the database is Postgres, right? Good. So this is the database. We're in the database now, so we just need to run a create table command, a SQL command to create. So I'm copying it. I'll just paste it here, and then voila, our table is created. So let's check it with \d. So we've created a user table, right? All right, so we have our table, but there is no record here. All right. So if we go back and refresh this user command, we should be able to see empty array, hopefully. Awesome, so things are working well. All right, so let's now again use that API tool to add a new record to it. Remember, it is now running on port 5009, right? We're doing a post request to that user's endpoint. We're creating the same record, just two values, name and email. So we hit it, record created, right? Record created. If we refresh it, we should see that record. See? We can also confirm from the database. If we come back here, go up here and then see it was empty here, but now we have a record here, right? So that is the first part, right? We look at remember what we did now. We containerize or containerize the backend, but for the database, we just pulled in the official Postgres image from Docker, from Docker Hub. But to get them connected, what we did was to first create a network, all right? Give it any name, and then when you're running those containers, you will apply it. You say network, all right? In your run command, you say network, and then you give it the network name. In this case, we said Zeus network, right? Now you do that, for both the backend and then also when you're running the database container, and then in your environment variables, to connect to that container, all right, that database. To connect to that database, so what we did here. We passed all these environment variables, all right, in that our run command for the backend. We passed all these variables, right? Let me drop this guys like this so that they are more readable, right? We, of course, the defaults, the user, it's Postgres. That's now this is the most important thing. In fact, the host, right? If it is running on my local machine, it would have been localhost, but in this case now, for the backend to access that database container, it will use the container name. We didn't even give it this name, right? We could have given that container, that Postgres container, a name, and then we'll use the same name here. But Docker gave it this name, so we have to go and pull this name, by checking the containers that are running, with Docker PS. All right, and then of course the default container, when you run that command, when you run the Postgres container, it gives you this, right? And then the password. This is the only thing we passed when we were creating or when we were running that command, that container, right? And then it also runs on this port, right? So we're telling the backend, right, that these are the details you use to to access that database, right? And then you can be able to read and write to it. That's the first bit. Now the second bit, where you see it's a bit complicated, so that's where Docker Compose comes in, to make things easy. We'll write all of this, in a single compose file, right? And things will be easy. All we need to do is use Docker Compose to build and run our containers, and then we can access the app, and it will be able to write and read from the database. Now the other thing we can also do is that create table step. We can also add it in our script, so that when we run the Postgres container, it will also create the table for us, right? So at first, when we access it, the table is already there. Of course, it will give us a zero record, empty array, and then we can call that post endpoint to create new record. All right, so maybe that's going to be a part 2, right? I hope you enjoyed this. Drop a like and look out for the the second part, that's using the Docker Compose. And don't forget to subscribe to, and I'll see you in part 2 and the many other videos to come. Love you, peace.